A couple of months ago, I did my first film swap with the old camera guy. We used a roll of Port Huron 160. I did the initial exposures on the roll, sent it to Dave. He processed it and scanned it, and we shared them in the video. So you might be wondering what a film swap is. A film swap is when two photographers run the same roll of film through their camera. One photographer will shoot the roll, usually at one stop underexposed, then wind that film back into the canister, send it to another photographer who will shoot that same roll of film again, one stop underexposed. The theory is the two exposures on that film, each one stop underexposed, is going to equal a properly exposed negative. Well, Dave and I did this a few months ago. We used a roll of Port Huron 160 that I initially photographed, sent to him. He processed and scanned with his Epson V550 scanner. Those photos came out great. But the even better thing about this film swap was that I sent another roll of film to him that he would initially shoot, and that was a roll of Ilford HP5 black and white film. Dave did shoot that roll and send it back for me to do the balance of the film swap. I would develop the film, scan them, and then we would share the images for two separate videos. I processed the film in HC110 Developer, Dilution B, with a little more agitation to bring out a little more contrast in those negatives. The results of this film swap were absolutely amazing, and you're gonna wanna hang around to the end of the video to see what this is all about. Behind me is the memorial to the men, the 22 men who lost their lives in the tunnel explosion in December 1971. These 22 men were underground and were working on a tunnel for water intake from Lake Huron to supply municipal water to various communities. This memorial was dedicated 35 years after that explosion. The most amazing thing to me about this film swap was that those images were in almost perfect register for the entire roll. We ended up getting 36 exposures on this roll in near perfect register using 2 different cameras loaded at 2 different times. I could not believe the absolute luck that Dave and I had with this film swap with all those images being in register. The one of the Huron lightship, here one of the last remaining lightships on the Great Lakes, with the fun superimposed right over it. The cameras overlaying the blue water bridges going from Port Huron, Michigan to Sarnia, Canada. The fact that we each shot a classic car and those images are superimposed over each other, and the same with the road signs. It's almost like Dave and I were total simpatico with each other in our thoughts. These 2 film swaps I've done with Dave, the old camera guy, have been some of the most fun I've had doing film photography, and I can't tell you how long. Do me a favor and visit his channel. I got a link to it right up here. Port Huron, Michigan, where I currently live, has a large number of sculptures in the area, and these are 2 of the very prominent sculptures that are downtown. These were made by renowned sculptor Marshall Fredericks. The night and day fountain is on the front of the Henry McMorran Memorial Auditorium here in Port Huron. And the clock that is there, the clock and the stars, were all part of the sculpture as well. Fredericks did a number of sculptures very, very famous, including the Cleveland War Memorial Fountain, Peace Arising from the Flames of War, Boy and Bear, Christ on the Cross, Freedom of the Human Spirit, Leaping Gazelle, Lion and Mouse, the poet, Lord Byron, Man in the Expanding Universe Fountain, Night and Day Fountain, which is the fountains that we see right here behind me, the Spirit of Detroit, the Thinker, and the 2 Bears. Many other works were made by this renowned artist. I hope you enjoyed this film swap with the old camera guy as much as I did. And here's a link to the original film swap that Dave and I did. And here's some other film videos you may be interested in as well. I'm James Fisher. This is Vintage Insight Photography. As always, thanks for coming along.